Welcome everyone to the Quantum Leap Masterclass. This is going to be a 3-day experience where we go through the entire process of a quantum leap. And we go through all the ins and outs, all the things that I've learned and the awarenesses that I've had and how all of this gets actually put together. And so before we get into all that, first of all, I want to have a conversation about what on earth I'm talking about, because we hear this word, the quantum leap, thrown around a lot, and everybody's got their own interpretation of it. And so the first word, the quantum, is something that not everybody is common speak to understand. People in healing and energy spaces usually understand it, but just for the sake of sharing my understanding, when I step into a quantum realm, the quantum as a place, in a sense, it's everything outside of our linear time and space. Everything outside of this 3D experience, this tangible, touching the objects with minutes clicking like they do and the seconds happening like they do along this linear path. Because all of our emotions, all of the thoughts in our head, we can't touch. We experience them, we know them, we can create from them, but we can't touch them, and they don't have a linear process to them. We don't only feel what we feel in this moment. We feel things from the past, and we feel excitement and possibility from the future. And we have stories from the past and stories from the future and hopes and dreams. And so all of those things are not linear time and space. And so that's the very first step as we start to expand ourself outside of the physical body. But then we can even go beyond that. And as we step into the quantum realm, we're stepping into a realm of possibility, of potentiality that goes beyond emotions and stories. It goes beyond the physical body. It goes into the spiritual bodies, and it goes into beyond, into all that could be possible. And so it's a place of anything is possible. And it does not have time and space rules like we experience on this planet, at least. And so when I talk about a quantum leap, what I'm talking about is collapsing our experience of time as we leap into potentiality and possibility, as we leap into a new experience, a new timeline. Because as we experience life, we experience it in a linear form. And so it's, as time is happening, we have what we have. But if we want to change, if we want to do something else, we want to create something new, we have to change something about ourselves and about this timeline. And so when we go through a quantum leap, sometimes these are massive things. Sometimes, usually they are, because as we shift, so much changes. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes it's just a tweak within ourselves that brings forward this huge change in our external environment. But what happens is we change enough about our frequency and where we are anchored and what we are doing that time happens differently for us. So I want to explain, because this downloaded after I scheduled this masterclass and after I knew what I was going to talk about. I got this slew of information that hit me, and it's been processing through me. And the biggest key that I got is that we in the 3D experience time like we do, but there's kind of a belief that time just happens like it happens. But the truth is that time isn't real even in the 3D. It's just how this earth experiences it, but our consciousness experiences time differently. Our consciousness, our mind, experiences time relative to various things. So for example, if you've ever been, having an amazing day with somebody and it's like time just super fast, like you're having a conversation, you feel like it's been 5 minutes, and you look at the clock and it's been 2 hours, right? Everybody's had that version of experience, or you're with some new amazing person and, you completely lose track of time because it happens so much faster at the experience of your consciousness, because you put so much weight and so much gravity in that experience that time bended for you. Time bended for you in a way that it didn't relative to everybody else. And so this is like the science, so to speak, of how a quantum leap works, is we put the weight and the importance of our experience that we're creating, that we're bringing to us, in a way that allows time to, relative to the outside world, happen very, very fast for us. And that brings us something very, very, very quickly. So we're going to talk more and more about that as we kind of ground in that concept, because there's a lot more to it. But what I want to just share, that's the quantum leap as I experience it, that everything in my world shifts very, very fast. Every time I go for the thing that I want, and I want it, and nothing will stop me, just like that. It happens so fast as I'm experiencing. Of course, I want it to happen faster, but when I look back, it's nothing. So the very first step, and the part that we're going to talk about today, is the foundational pieces that we need, because the reality is that if everybody could just put the importance of the thing they want and snap their fingers and they could have it, well, life would be a little different, right? But that's not how it works. So there's what I realized as I was reflecting on my own experiences and how I've operated, is that there's foundational levels that not everybody has. And if you have them, you might not be actually experiencing them right now. And so the way I visualize this, so the way I see timelines in my mind, those of you who watch the Thor movies, you know, the Bifrost thing that they travel on, and it's like lights, it's got all these colors in it. And that's how timelines look in my awareness, in my mind's eye. That's how I see them. And so there's these frequencies that run through, and there's all of these pieces, but at the ends, there's these anchors, there's these foundations, and they're, you know, where their home planet and whatever, I don't remember the name of it, and wherever they're going, there's this foundational piece. And if the foundations are broken, that doesn't work, right? So the foundations required to change the timelines and to leap and to move fast in a human body, because we are experiencing our consciousness through our human bodies, the very first one is actually safety. And I talked about safety a lot in the masterclass I did a few weeks ago, but how I want to talk about it in the context today is the safety that we have, that we anchor within ourselves. Because in a human body, our human must be safe. Like we still have that animal instinct that if something triggers safety, we have to act, we have to move, we have to run, we have to do something. We cannot operate from a place of total fear. And so what I find when people are have gone through lots of traumas or big situations or things in their lives, there's something about themselves that doesn't feel safe. They don't feel safe in their bodies. They don't feel safe to express their emotions. They don't feel safe in their heads, and their mind is spinning all the time. And they have all of these fears constantly keeping them in that state of fear. And our bodies and our mental states and our emotions will stop us from doing anything at all if we're not safe, because safety has to come first. It's the foundational layer of being in a human. And so if we look at all of the energy bodies that we have, and we have our physical body at our foundational level, if our physical body isn't safe, it's very, very hard to go start a business, for instance, and go make $1 million like that. Our bodies, like, we do not compute. We cannot do that. We have to address the safety first. If our emotions are not safe, and every time we're in a situation where we have feeling, we shut it down or we can't express it, then every time fear comes up, which happens as we make these big changes, we shut down. We can't act. We can't do it because we don't allow ourselves to feel those emotions because they're not safe. And if our head is spinning constantly, and we have all these stories and all of these things that we cannot do, and we are gaslighting ourselves, and we're telling ourselves these horrible things about who we are, it's going to be very, very hard to take action consistently, because we're going to continue to tell ourselves it's not safe. And so how do we shift that? How do we change that? How do we build this foundation? And so what I realized is that most people at some point in their life have felt safe. There are some exceptions. And if you are one of those exceptions where you cannot find safety in this physical experience, I would love to invite you to work with me one-on-one, because I can help you find that place beyond this human experience. And we can ground that in and start from a different place. But the people I'm speaking to today are the ones who at least can find, maybe in childhood, maybe there at some point they lived their lives, they did feel safe in their bodies. Maybe it's, if you're somebody who likes to travel and you're in your van and you're road tripping and you feel safe because you've got everything, you're good. Whatever it is, whatever that feeling of safety you have to anchor safety into self. Because safety in self is actually where it comes from. So many people anchor their safety and give that gravity, that importance, that experience to something outside of self. They give it to the amount of dollars in their bank account. They give it to other people. They give it to, their spouses and their jobs. They give it to their friends to help them make decisions. They give it to everybody else is how we stay safe. That's this belief we have. We don't know how to keep ourselves safe, so we give it to everybody else. When I was going through my divorce in 2019 and 2020, I knew things weren't okay. I knew I wasn't good, but I didn't know what to do about it. So because I didn't trust myself and my ability to keep myself safe, or I didn't think it was possible to have what I needed, I just gave all my power away. I said, all right, I hired lawyers, I hired people, you figure it out. You tell me how this is going to work. You figure out, you make this safe, basically, is what I did. And I find that people do this a lot. How many people have to call 10 friends before they can make a decision? Or, they have to hem and haw and get all of these ideas, and somebody else actually makes the decision for them. Or you're in relationships where your safety comes from, your spouse and their job, and you don't know, but you might not feel like you can express yourself because that wouldn't be safe, because it would change things with your spouse or in their job. And so people have this idea that safety can't come from within self. That doesn't make sense. Safety must come from outside of self, but that's actually very backwards. If we don't bring safety in here, then it can be taken away from us. It can be ripped out from under us and shake us big, right? And if we anchor safety in here, and if we create safety within ourselves, then all of our actions, all of the place we create from that place of safety. And we can then do more with it, right? And so people are like, well, how do you do that? Right? How do you do that? I don't so what I want to walk you through here a little bit is anchoring that place of safety within your heart space, within yourself, because as long as you can find the feeling of being safe and held in this experience, you can do this and operate from that place today. Okay? Because we have to stop. We have to stop giving everything to everybody else if we're going to take back control of our lives to create these quantum leaps for ourselves, because they don't come from anybody else. Nobody else is going to give you a quantum leap. Nobody else is going to say, oh, yep, here you go. Here's everything you've ever wanted, just as if by magic. I mean, I guess maybe it could happen, but truly, most of the time we have to create these experiences for self, especially if we're ever going to maintain them and hold on to them, right? If we don't trust it, we have to trust self. Okay. So what I would love for you all to do is just close down your eyes and get centered within yourselves. Get centered within yourself. Take deep breath. I want you to bring your awareness to your heart space, the center of your chest. I want you to feel your energy, your presence here. If you're a visual person, you might see color, flickering light. Might have a shape or a pattern. And as we breathe, we're going to stretch it. We're going to expand it. Expand that sense of self here. And I want you to notice in the center, there's a portal, an opening, a doorway. As we step through this doorway, the place that we're going is home. that has the resonance, the frequency, the feeling of home. Everybody's will be different, but everybody's contains the feeling of safety, security, being held, being completely able to be exactly who you are in every given moment. And when you're ready, step through the door. Allow your energy to shift. Some people experience a free fall. Some people feel like they're traveling through space and time. Some people quickly arrive there, and some people it takes a while. Just allow yourself whatever you need. Whatever visual comes is correct for you. Whether you arrive at nature or water, whether it's just light. This is the place that holds safety. This is the place where we anchor in who we are and where we operate from. This is where we make decisions from. This is the place where we get to be fully embodied within ourselves, completely safe in every moment. I would love for you to really feel that feeling within your bodies and bring as much of it into your physical body as you can. Allow it to spread throughout your entire system. We're going to literally anchor in this as safety. This is where safety comes from. This is what safety actually is and feels like. Being held, connected, and supported. This is the foundation that every human on this planet deserves to have. When I bring people here, sometimes they don't want to leave. It feels so nice and good. And you can come back here at any time. Operating from this place of safety allows you to trust in a totally different way. Allows us to trust who you are and what you're capable of. All right, once you feel like you've anchored that in and you can feel that in your body, you can go ahead and open your eyes. There's no need to come all the way back through because this exists within yourself. This is who you are. This is your foundation, your home. You always have it. You always, always have it. And anchoring in your physical body, the feeling of safety, allows that to travel through your emotions and your mental state as well, and into your spiritual bodies. Because the way all of this works, we have these planes of existence. We are more than just our meat suits. We have our physical body, and we have our emotions and our mental and our spiritual and all of these levels and layers of our multidimensional selves. And so as we anchor in safety as that grounding foundation in our physical bodies, it allows the rest of it to kind of align and even out. I almost look at it like our vertebrae in our backs. If anybody to a chiropractor and they talk about one vertebrae being out a little bit, And we just got to push it back in and anchor in safety through all levels and layers of self, all levels and layers of our emotions and our mental capacities and our spiritual bodies, anchor in knowing that we create safety. And when we can trust that, that opens this new doorway for ourselves. It opens this doorway into, oh, okay, if I create my safety, then my safety comes from here. I can do anything and still be safe. There isn't a decision that isn't safe, because if I'm choosing it, I'm creating more safety for self. That's what I'm doing. That's because I'm operating from this place. Because we know we have to change inside ourselves in order to change our outside selves, but we must do inside first. Everything in our external environment is merely a reflection of what we are experiencing here. And so if we're not safe, there's going to be stuff going on. But it isn't that we have to fix all of this first, and we have to give all of our power and all of the things to anybody else to fix it. We have to come back home. We got to come back home and go, who am I and what am I doing and why am I doing it for me? Right? And so the first time I really did this, I did it before I knew anything about energy work, before I knew anything about the quantum realm, really about any of it at all. I was totally shut off, but I heard so loudly that until I stopped giving my power away, until I anchored back into myself, until I said, no, I'm not letting other people decide. I'm changing. And then my life will change. Things happened really, really, really fast. But I had to anchor back into me. And so the next foundation layer of any quantum leap, any big shift, is actually connection. It's connection, not just with yourself. That's that first piece. It's connection it's opening that doorway of connection to allowing new connections to come to you. And not in the way like the example I gave where I was paying lawyers and parental rights evaluators and all these people to solve my divorce problems. That's not the connection I mean, because I was giving them my power. I was saying, you choose, here, you fix this. When I shifted my energy and I grounded into myself and I said, no, I'm doing this. I'm creating safety for myself. The connections that showed up were more like, I see what you're doing, and what you're doing is important. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you create what you are putting out there. It was no longer lawyer people tell me what to do. It was, I want this to happen. Tell me how to make it happen. Help me make this happen. Who do I need to talk to? People would come to me and say, I've been watching what's happening and I'm not okay with this, so I'm going to help you. I know some people. And the connection shifted. It shifted from me just, you fix it, to this is what I'm creating. This is how I'm operating. And other people were now magnetized to that and wanted to help me. But before all of that, I had been hyper independent. Me do it. I'm not asking for help. That was my MO. And honestly, still sometimes is. I struggle with this one. This is one that can be very hard for me. And I see this in a lot of people where, because we haven't felt exactly safe on some level, we just hold on to it. And we just like, no, I'll just take care of it. I don't trust other people to do this. And the hard part is we can't do all these things by ourselves, because if we want to manifest change, how does those changes come to us, right? If we want a new business, or we want to change where we live, or we want to have more money, or we want to have a new relationship, or all of these big changes we want in our experience, they require another person to either come to us as a client, come to us as a new partner, come to us as support, right? We're not in this experience all by ourselves. And so if we're shutting off shutting off our energy to any kind of connection that is aligned to what we're doing, it makes it pretty hard for those things to show up. And that's what I find I was doing. I was so ashamed of what I had been through that I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to talk about it. And so I was quiet, and there was a few people that knew, but I was very shrunk. I didn't trust that anybody could help me except the ones that I decided were the ones I was going to give all my power to. Like I was totally backwards. And so I had to open up the doorway to connection and to utilize this idea of a network of possibility. I had to open up this pathway and say, okay, I want to do something. Who's going to help me? And this has happened every time I've done any big shift and change. The big pieces that happen fastest come through somebody else. And so in my divorce, once I shifted and decided, nope, not letting any other outcome. This is what's happening. This is what's doing. We are not going to live in anything that isn't unsafe. We're going to be safe and secure. That's what I'm creating. I had people helping me. I had people showing up, and not everyone, but everybody knew somebody, and everybody wanted to then give me an idea. And I kept going. And all of the evidence that I needed in my case came through those other people. That's what made my case, not the people I hired. The connections and the evidence that came through that is what made my case. And that's what shifted things. But I had to create it, and then I had to allow myself to receive that. And then the other big shifting I did when I wanted to move. I wanted to move houses. I needed to leave Colorado. I wanted a new home. I was literally looking for home. But I wanted connection. I wanted community. I needed things. And so I was trying to search, and I was trying to do it all by myself, because that's how I operated, right? Once I got safety, I shut people back off again. And I was trying to do it all by myself because I was a single mom of 3. Like, that's what we do. We just take care of all the things by ourselves. And I even went on a road trip and visited where I wanted to be. And we searched for houses for 2 weeks, and we didn't find anything. And I was very frustrated because this was not going to be easy. And I was having a very hard time buying houses in other places. And it was like, what is going to happen? How am I going to do this? The moment I let go of me having to find it, me having to do it. And I actually left the area. The next day, I got a message from my girlfriend who was like, what about this house? And I was like, oh my God, I had this vision of what the house was going to feel like and going to be, but how did you find it? And the only reason she found it is because they had the price all high, and they had just shifted and changed it. But I had given up. I had let it go. I just be like, okay, it's going to show up if it shows up. And the moment I let go, it came through somebody else. And then she went and Zoom looked at the house with me, because I was now 10 hours away. And I bought a house sight unseen, trusting that I held the anchor of my vision. I held the importance of what I wanted. I knew what it was going to feel like. I knew what it was going to be, but I had to allow it to come through support of other people. I had to allow myself to receive that support, receive the help and the love from other people in order to actually make it happen. And so, and then everything just went very fast from there, because it was easy now. Once I allowed that to shift and change, and I stopped trying to have to do it all by my damn self, it happened much faster. And so that's the other piece of how we can collapse this time, is we start to anchor in more, and we get other people to help us. They go, oh, what you're doing, I align to that. I want to help you with that. And they give you that support, and they give you that thing, and they go, I want to learn from you. I want to pay you. I want to work with you. I want to date you. I want to all of these things, because you're holding your vision. You're holding your anchor in your gravity and who you are and what you are creating. And that's how we magnetize these new connections. And so the connection is very, very different than just any old anything. It's this idea that connection is all we need. It's connection that's safe, and connection that's anchored in everybody being in their individual selves and their own things, because that's how we co-create. That's how we actually work together. We find people that align to our creations, and they go, oh, I can add to that, but I'm not giving myself away. Because that's the other big pattern I had. The other big pattern I had was, once I found somebody I liked in any form, all of a sudden I would change who I was and give all of my power of who I was and what I was doing to fit their mold. I was literally giving myself away to, because this was now my safety, this was my person, whether it was a friend or my ex-husband, I did that a lot with, or anybody else I felt like was going to help me, I would just shift and like shape shift into this person. But I wasn't anchored in myself while I was doing it. And so I see people do this even in friendships and friend circles where we all get together and people are anchoring into other people's stuff rather than staying anchored in self. And it's something I wish people understood better, what connection really is, what connection really means, because it's not giving everything away. It's being so anchored in yourself that you can see yourself, and then you can see the other person's self too, and you can share and you can exchange, but you're always anchored in who you are and what you're doing. And if working together adds to that, great. It was a really interesting experience. A few months ago, like within a week, I had 2 people reach out to me totally out of nowhere, asking me to work on their businesses with them. They had these visions and they had sort of started. One of them, not at all. One of them had some outlines, and they were like, you would be perfect. You would be perfect. I can feel it. It's amazing. You should come work for me. I was like, it's very interesting. What is going on? What is going on? Why is all that happening? And is this the universe telling me something? I went through all those thoughts in my head. And what I actually realized, it wasn't that they were calling me or I should go do that. It was that they were feeling how anchored I was into this creation. And they wanted me in a lot of ways to go anchor into their creation. And I had to feel in, was their creation aligned to mine? Like, was this the same or not? And neither of them were. One of them was not even close. And the other one, I didn't want to, the person who was holding it didn't feel good either. So I had to take a look at all that. But it was really interesting because we'll start as we shift ourselves and we shift the gravity and the experience that we're holding, things start to come and possibilities come forward. But that's why we check in with self. Because it's not that we have to trust everybody else. It's not that we have to trust the world because they're not making our decisions. We're making our decisions. We have to trust us, and we have to go, is this thing for me? Just because it arrived on my doorstep doesn't mean it's for me. It's more like, is this something I want? Do I get to choose? Does this align? Is this a direction I want to take? Does this align to my creation or not? Because it might be close, but not quite. I see a lot of people who the sexiest thing they find about a potential partner is the fact that they're interested in them. That's a belief that a lot of people hold. If somebody's interested in me in a romantic way, that automatically means I'm attracted to them. I've seen this over and over and over again. My ex-husband used to tell me this, that's how he operated. I've seen friends do this. If somebody shows romantic interest in you, automatically that sparks, okay, that's really attractive because they're giving me attention. But really, what's happening there? When we look at that type of connection, somebody's pouring their attention into you, and you're all of a sudden like, oh, well, clearly you're my person. No, not really. No, I mean, maybe, but not necessarily. We have to check in with ourselves. We have to say, does this person align to what I'm doing? Does this person hold the things and the values and the experiences that I want to create with my life? Do I actually like this person just because they like me? Do I like them? Do I want to be around them? Do I want to experience more with them or not? Because a lot of people were like, oh, well, I mean, it's okay. I can play whatever they want me to play. And that's easy. But that doesn't anchor ourselves into who we are. That doesn't allow us to be and show up for us, right? That just gives ourselves, that's giving everything away again. Just being like, well, because I need attention and I need connection, I'm going to give it all away. No, we need to come back to self always, with every type of connection, with every type of support. Okay. And so these foundational layers safety, and connection are the two foundations that to me make up how this starts to operate. These foundational layers are like, if you have these things, in my opinion, you can do anything. You can literally do anything. If you have safety in yourself and you have the opening of connection and you are experiencing that support, like the rest, if you are an action-oriented person, you could just go make it happen. The next 2 days, we're going to talk about the harmonics of actually adjusting our field so that we can align to those new timelines and how we then take those consistent actions. But this foundational layer, this is all I had when I first started. I didn't understand the rest of it. I just was that type of person that wasn't going to let anything get in my way. But this foundational piece is key, because if you don't have safety in your body and safety in these connections and the ability to even receive connection, you know, your everything in your system will stop you. And I've seen it over and over and over again, where people get, okay, I'm gonna go do this. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. But it's scary. So now it's scary and I've triggered my whole fight or flight and I'm not safe and I have to go hide. Like I've seen that over and over and over and over again with people. And they get started and they shift and they do all the clearing and all the healing and all the pieces. But because it triggers that unsafe piece in their bodies, no. Or they meet somebody that they think is aligned to helping them. And so they go, okay, you figure it out. All right, you know what I want, you figure it out. I'm going to sit over here and just wait. I'm just going to give all my power away to this other person and I'm going to sit and wait. And so then obviously that other person doesn't have the weight and the gravity of what you're doing. There's just, and I'm not saying it won't ever happen if you do that. It can, but if we want things to happen fast, which is what the quantum leap is about, the quantum leap is about collapsing time so that we can just hop right over into the life we want. We can't put the gravity in somebody else, because the closer the gravity, the importance, the weight of our experience is to self, and the closer aligned to what we're trying to create that becomes, the faster time collapses. That's the best way I can experience. Have everybody seen the movie Interstellar? So it's Interstellar with what's his name? But where they go when they're searching for in that second planet, and they go to the really high gravity like planet where the person is, and they land there, and like 50 years or something go by outside of that, but they spend 10 minutes there. The more gravity, the faster time is experienced by consciousness. So the more weight, the closer it is to self and anchored into ourselves, the more importance we place on it, the more we operate from, I'm going to do this no matter what. I will not let anybody stop me. We operate from that weight, the faster it happens and comes to you. And that's how this works. It happens faster the more we hold it close to home, the more we hold it close to safety, and the more we allow the connections to come and add to our creation instead of give it away, the faster we create it. So I want to pause here because I've been talking for 40 minutes. And I want to ask if there's questions, anything that that didn't make sense. We had nobody's commented. So I'm hoping that means I'm making sense to everybody. Because sometimes I just talk. But this key here is something that's just, the more I understand it, the more I look at it from this really interesting science perspective, the more I can see how we can utilize it for anything, literally anything. We can do anything if we can find our importance. We can find the weight of who we are and what we want and what we're here to do. And we find the drive and the desire. So many people don't think they can have their desires. They don't think that it's acceptable to want things. They don't feel like it's possible for them. And that's just not true. That's not true. That's why would we be here? Why would we be here on this planet with all of these beautiful things if we were not to receive desires? Good. I'm glad it makes sense. Amanda, does adding weight to our vision somehow go again our concept of letting go? Against. So against. Okay. Yeah, I was reading what I think I wrote. So adding weight to our vision does not go against the concept of letting go, because it has to go hand in hand. So yes, there's an element of surrender. Absolutely. When I'm holding the weight of my experience I'm creating, what I have to surrender to isn't that I don't have a choice. What I have to surrender to is how it arrives, what the steps are, what the process is, because my linear mind wants to have this action plan. It wants to go, okay, I'm holding this thing I want. I'm aligned to it. I'm holding it. It's here. Now, what's my to-do list? That's what my mind wants, right? My mind wants to go, okay, how do I get there? And I want to know the steps. That's the part we have to let go of and we have to surrender to. Every single time I have tried to plan out my creations, especially when I'm doing them in this format, when I'm doing these big leaps, every time I try to figure out the how and the steps, it blows up in my face every time. And it's really frustrating and exhausting to be like, but why isn't it working out? Oh my God, it's not working out. Clearly it's not meant for me. No, that's not how it is. I have to trust the gravity of what I'm holding. I have to trust the weight that I'm creating in this experience, and that I can do this. And it's not going to look like I think it looks, because what I'm creating isn't necessarily like the business that looks like this. I'm creating a feeling. I'm creating an experience for myself. And when I create that experience, the beautiful thing about the ability to let go after is the universe surprises me every time, every fucking time, every time. It surprises me with better than I asked for. Every time. And so that's the part where we can master the anchoring in what we're doing, what we're creating. We can trust ourselves that we are doing this. We are taking the steps, the steps that come to us when they come, and we don't have these extensive plans because the plans don't work out. That's when we get surprised and we even get the better thing. And that's the magic. And so even I still do this today. I still want to plan. I still want to be like, okay, I have this plan. I had this vision. I want this business. I want it to feel like this. I want it to look like this. And I have this whole structure built in my mind. And I'm like, okay, so I start planning out all these courses and these things that I'm going to do. And then a new download comes in and it blows it all up. I'm like, well, fuck, now what? Or I launch something and it doesn't go like I think it should go. Okay, well, clearly that wasn't right. So now I have to shift and pivot. But it doesn't mean that I'm not doing it. That's the thing, because the weight I'm holding is the gravity of what I'm creating. And I know, because I've seen it happen so many times, that it doesn't actually matter how it transpires, because my how wants to be linear, and my how would actually probably make it take like 10 years or something. And if I surrender and I let go of the how, that's when time gets to collapse. And I can have it much, much faster if I align to what I'm doing. And so the thing I want you guys to think about in today and before we meet tomorrow is what do you want? What do you want to create? What's this leap you want to take? Maybe you already know, but if you don't know, I would love for you to feel and anchor into yourself. What do you want to experience? And maybe it's a specific, but maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's something like safety. Maybe it's connection or community. Maybe it's something bigger. Maybe it's expansion. The one I'm playing with right now that just dropped in for me, the new weight of what I'm holding impact. That's what I'm creating. That's what I want to anchor into me. I am impact. That's what I want. And I'm going to own that, and I'm going to become that, so that everything I do makes the impact. And I'm going to trust that it's all just going to sort itself out. I don't know what that's going to look like. I have literally no idea. But I have so much stuff running through my body that I know I can. And I can because I trust I can. And I can because I've seen myself doing crazy stuff. I might as well, let's just make all the impact we can, is how I think. But if you're not there, you align to the thing you want. Maybe you just want freedom. I have people, I was actually doing a session on my mom, and she's 72 and has lived a life, jobs, and she's finally retired, and all she wants is peace. She just wants to be happy and peaceful and live the best she can. That's all she really wants. And so her creation, what she's bringing towards herself, is peace. And that's beautiful. There's no right or wrong answer. We don't have to be people who want to go make big change. Not everybody is that person. That's not who we all are. You get to decide, and you get to feel into truly, what does your soul want? What is your soul desire to be? And why do you want to be here? Why have you gone through all the things you've gone through? We've gone through so much in our lives. And if we looked at our lives, like everything was happening for you to get you here today in this moment, why would that all have happened? Why are you here? And what do you want to do? What do you truly, in your heart's desire, want next? What are you manifesting? What are you creating in your world? Like, what is your why? What is your why for existing? Why do you get up in the morning? What do you want to do with your life? All of those questions I want you to sit with and really feel into. Okay, this is what I want to leap into. This is the creation I'm holding. This is the weight, the gravity, the importance that I am holding in my heart of what I'm going to do next. And this is the thing that nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me from getting this, because this is what I deserve. This is who I am. That's the thing I would love all of you to think about before we meet tomorrow, because as we go into tomorrow and we start to look at how do we harmonize to that thing and what might be getting in the way, it's going to be nice to know what your thing is. It'll be easier to look at. And ideally, it can even come as a word, just one thing, one feeling. And maybe you have pictures in your mind. Those of you who are visual, I know when I was looking for my house, I really liked feeling into, okay, what does this look like in my mind? And the house I bought doesn't look like the house in my mind, no, but it had the feeling that the house in my mind had. It had this feeling of community. It had this feeling of not being alone, this feeling where the kids could go out and play and all of that. And so the feeling was the same, even if the visual was not. But every time I struggled and every time I shifted around and was like, oh my God, my plan didn't work out again. Things are not okay. What am I going to do? I could come back there. I could come back there and I could recenter myself and I could go, this is what I'm doing next. Okay. And so anchoring in safety and all levels and layers of self, opening the doorway to others to help us with our creations, others that align to wanting the same things and wanting to help us, because really everybody wants to help. We're all helpers. We saw somebody who needed something and all it took was a phone call from us, we would do it. I know I've done it. I see that I've got this piece for you. Here you go. It's easy. And it's easy when the person you're helping is clear on what they want. It's very simple. And so that's what we need to do. We need to align to the safety, open the doorway to the connection. And then tomorrow we'll talk about how do we harmonize to everything we want. And then on Thursday, we'll go into the actual action piece, because those of you who have had a hard time actually making the creations, on some level, there's a piece in this whole process that you've missed. A lot of people are really good at one portion of it, but they can't necessarily put it all together, is what I've found. A lot of people are really good at the healing and the clearing and the okay, I know what's blocking me so I can fix it. But they're never anchored into themselves. They never actually knew what they wanted in the first place. And so that was kind of like, for what? Or they get to that and they go, I don't know how to take actions. I don't know how to actually bring it down into the physical reality. And so depending on wherever you are, that's this process we'll go through. And I want to actually take you through this process. It's not just the information, but I would love for you to actually participate and share what you actually want to create. What do you want for the world? What is the dream you have? And as big of a dream as you have. It could be a small dream. It could be just a house and a place of freedom for yourself and your family. It could be this gigantic vision. Whatever is in your heart, whatever you feel like you can hold, because it's something that you have to hold and come back to every time. And so sometimes it's easier to start with the things that are close to home. But if you feel like you can hold the big vision right now, by all means, we will be besties, because that's where I'm at. I want the big things now. But you got to do you. You got to do what's in your heart, because this is about your ability to hold your desire and your ability to take action from this place. Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions I would love to answer, or anything at all that they would like to share? Okay. If there are no questions, no thoughts, I will release you all, and we will meet same time tomorrow. We appreciate all of this. Thank you again. You are so welcome. So welcome. I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we will talk about all of the harmonics and the ways that we can shift and change our frequencies to all of these pieces. Okay. You are so welcome. So welcome, everybody. I hope to see you guys all again live tomorrow. The replays, I will, as soon as I get them uploaded, will be sent out if anybody wants to rewatch, or those of you who aren't here. I'm speaking to you. I will send that out, and then I will see you guys all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Adios.